alone am God and there is none else. Now, in a statement like this, I don't need someone to explain to me. It means, oh, God is a Trinity consisting of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, because it's very clear what it is. There is no God before Him. There is no God after Him. Me,
That
says.
was Jesus speaking in the Old Testament.
If you allow
and
me
he said,
to
I am the
continue.
first and the last. And in Revelation 22:13, Jesus said, I am the first and the last. So that was Jesus speaking in the Old
So
Testament.
what we
which he
are
then attributes to that
establishing
divine
is
title
this:
in the New Testament.
the Hecklers will speak, so we have to be focus, right? So we'll come back to the statement that you want to share with. So before me there was no God form, right? Someone is saying me and I alone am God and there's none else. Imagine now we are in a crowd like this. We are a group of people, not one human. How many humans? Quite a few humans. And if I said I am the only medical doctor here, can there be anyone else in this group?
No.
Exactly, because I have excluded everyone else. Right. In the Trinity, it's not just I only, whoever's speaking. The speaker, when he speaks, he's not speaking on behalf of the other two. He's excluding the other two, even if it was a Trinity for the sake of argument. One of this speaker is saying, I alone am God, there's none else. It's not saying we alone are gods and there's no one else besides us. It's using a very precise language in the first person singular, I. So again, any Christians who are Trinitarians, they really have to battle with this clear verses in the Old Testament in which God is exclusively excluding everything else and saying, I alone am God, there's none else. Now, imagine now if this was the Father, it would exclude the Son and the Holy Spirit. But what if, as this gentleman said, this is Jesus speaking? If that is the case, if that is the case,
there is no God.
if that,
Jesus
one at a
says in
time,
Revelation 22:13,
if that
he
is
first and
the
last.
case, Jesse, Jesus being one person, a hypostasis or a persona in the Trinity, is excluding every other two not to be God. He's saying, I alone am God and there's none else. Do you understand the point? Because, can you tell him to not interrupt?
The deity of the Son.
No,
Same way.
we will. Yeah? So Jesse, as you, brother, so Jesse, as we now realize, we have given you clear verses where the ambiguity is not there, identifying who God is and how many God is there, okay? So when Christ identifies himself to be the one sent by the only one true God, I would like to really hear, Jesse, your response in terms of why do you then associate partners to this one true God?
I see. Well,
as we discussed earlier about partnership.
Yeah. Well, you have provided a lot of verses. I would like to go to that verse.
Yeah.
I would like to go to one verse.
Yeah, go ahead.
And
we
can talk about it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is this the one?
And then this is in Old Testament, and Jesus has the same person.
Oh, excellent. Well, would you mind going to the part in John?
John 8:58.
That'd be really helpful. I'm sorry, that didn't take us off.
That's fine.
I'm sorry, I don't have it.
Mansur, do you only talk to tourists?
But you know how
I
he
talk
said,
to people who are sincere, not comedians and hecklers.
You know how he said
They're
there is
only
no
tourists,
God
right?
but me,
Young people.
right?
Yes.
I talk to people who are in
the
their
Old
90s
Testament,
too.
if you read the verse, it says,
Right?
"The first and the
One for in the
last."
grave.
And there's no God.
Yeah,
but me.
subscribe to Dawah
but it's
Wise,
hard
where you will find videos where me, Mansur, talking to people who are over 90s, 90, almost on their grave. And we are all going there. We will all die one day.
Not in the park.
In the park.
In his humanity.
Of course, we don't talk to people who are insincere, toxic comedians and hecklers.
People who know how to discuss all this stuff. Not the tourists.
But
They
you have
just
to
come here
realize
for
in John
pleasure
17
and
verse
they get
8,
dragged by you.
the Son is just affirming the deity of the Father.
I-
The same way in the book of
I agree
Hebrews,
with you.
the
It's
Father
just hard to-
confirms the deity of the Son. Right? He
do-
says,
I believe-
confirms the deity of the Son. That's what happened in John
Okay.
17 verse 8.
Brother, it's okay. Take him to the side.
He don't want to go.
Then don't talk to him then.
This section here.
Hecklers, don't give them the oxygen to continue with their heckling.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
So you actually quoted parts of John to me, and this is from John too.
I can give you more, John, but let's hear it.
This is also from John. And
Yeah.
It's Jesus who said, "Very truly I tell you, before Abraham was born, I am."
Sure. Hold on to this, because we need to go back to it.
How can that be true of Jesus?
Sure. What is
If he's
Jesus?
merely a prophet. And
What is he claiming?
I am is, first of all, that's a reference, I believe, to the name that God used to Moses in Exodus.
That's
And he
right,
said,
hallelujah.
I am who I am.
Amen.
You know? Oh, sorry. I'm not trying to do anything like that.
It's okay. He is as well.
So I believe that's one reference.
No, what is he claiming again?
Saying I am, by saying I am, that in itself is a reference to calling himself the same God. He's invoking the name that God gave Moses.
Where is this passage in?
This is John 8:58. And the Jews knew this, and that's why immediately following this, they attempt to kill him because they believe he is
Why would they
blaspheming.
attempt to kill
So
him?
John,
Claiming to be God?
sorry, John 8:58.
John 8:58. That's
Okay.
where that specific verse is, and then
Okay.
the context you'll read.
Now I know the
shows-
context, but I want to show you something that the church fathers
Yes,
or
yes.
your church priests, they don't tell you. So this is something going to be a good information for you to go and reflect on it.
Well, I would like to hear what you have to
Yeah,
say.
yeah, yeah. So I want to bring it up in the interlinear. Okay? So John 8:58 in the interlinear meaning, we go back to the original manuscript text on that and see what it says here. So I will show you here. He says what? Prin Abraham janaste ego eimi. Prin Abraham janaste or genomai ego eimi. Before Abraham, I was. Right?
I am.
I am, whatever, right?
Sure.
Ego
Not
Amy.
whatever.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Ego Amy, right? Ego Amy. In the text, we need to identify whether Ego Amy is the name of God.
That's true.
One second.
Honestly, sorry. Let me
Do the Greek Christians, listen carefully, do the Christians, Greek-speaking Christians, call God Ego Amy? The answer I can tell you, which you don't need to look further, but do look further. They don't. Because ego eimi simply means I am. Even a blind person in the New Testament says ego eimi, right? Ego eimi is just like a construct in which you say I am, I was, I will be, right? Okay. Now suppose that is not so convincing to you, which should be enough convincing, but it's not a name
Out
of
of
God.
context.
Because
Out of context.
I was just about to give you the context. Let the hecklers keep quiet. So, when we say ego eimi, suppose this ego eimi was referring to the text in the Hebrew, which is Yahya Asher Yahya, or however you want to pronounce it, Yah Asher Yah, or Yahweh Asher Yahweh. Who knows what the pronunciation is?
Yeah.
Because you don't know the actual words, how to pronounce the name of God, right? Okay. Excuse me. Let's do something very simple. Let's put the original word back to its right place. Because the word Abraham or Abram is a name of a person, right? Your name is Jesse. When you go to Italy, do they call you Tunkawunka? Would they call you Tunkawunka or they will call you Jesse?
I'm not sure what they'll call me.
Right, they will call you Jesse. When you go to China, will they call you Shangyang?
I suppose.
No, they will call you Jesse. Personal names, they will keep it, excuse me, Pollens.
Sorry.
1 second. Let me get some water. Personal names, we want to keep the names as it is. Like Abraham, the name of Abraham is kept exactly Abraham, even in the Greek text, even though it's a Hebrew word. So why have we not changed the name of Abraham as Father of Nations? So, before the Father of Nations, ego eimi. We haven't done that. The New Testament authors have not done it.
I agree with Mansur.
Now, we're going to put the name of God back to itself. Yahweh. Okay? So let's see what this claim is all about then. Before Abraham was Yahweh. Hear me out 3 times. Before Abraham was Yahweh. Before Abraham was Yahweh. Before Abraham was Yahweh. If I were Jesus and I was saying that to you, before Abraham was Yahweh, what am I claiming?
Well, you're claiming that God came before Abraham.
Am I claiming anything about myself?
If that is the correct way to understand the language, then that's right.
Yeah,
You're not claiming.
because that's exactly what it is. Here is the interlinear. Look here.
So
1 second, I have not finished
that's
yet.
okay,
I'll
that's
give you the
okay,
chance.
that's okay.
Look, before Abraham
Yes.
was, oh, sorry,
Sorry. It's okay.
I am, right? Look,
Yes.
here is the Greek. Prin,
Yes.
excuse me, Abraham, Janastei, ego, Amy.
And what? So.
Excuse me.
Oh, you're not finished.
Give me time. I should have worn a mask.
Hey, it's okay. Patience is okay.
Excuse me, though, for those who are hearing my cough.
Oh my goodness.
Now, so what we are saying, what we are saying, Jesse, I'll speak slightly in a lower tone so that I don't get a cough. Here, what has happened in the New Testament evangelism is they're trying to kill two birds with one stone when it's totally inappropriate. Because here, there is no two I ams. If Jesus said, before Abraham was, I am, then I am Yahweh. Makes sense. But it's not like this. So instead we find it's totally inappropriately mistranslated or misinterpreted to say he's claiming to be God. Because now if we put the sentence back with its original words as implied, it makes no claim about Jesus being God. Okay? That's from the language. Now, from the context, why did he say that? Because he was doing things, the Jewish people at that time, they weren't quite happy with what he's doing. He says, look, my father Abraham saw my day, and he rejoiced to see my day. He saw and that's when they said, you're not even 50 years old. How can you say you met Abraham? I'm paraphrasing, remember. We can go back to the text, no problem, unless you know it already. Only then he said, before Abraham was, I am. Right. So here, Jesus is answering their question about what? How is he contemporary of Abraham when he's not even 50 years old? Nothing to do about his claiming to be God. He's here saying, even before Abraham, I was there, I am there, whatever you want to use it. Meaning, he's not only contemporary, he's even before that. Now, this can only prove his pre-existence, right? Pre-existence is not synonymous to being God, because we have many other people who have pre-existence. To give you an example, another individual who is also contemporary to Abraham. Now that would be interesting, isn't it? And Abraham gave 1/10 of wealth and so on.
We're talking about Melchizedek?
Melchizedek. Yes. He's described as what?
He's a high priest.
No. In terms of pre-existence, he's described as what? He has no beginning of days, no end of days, no father, no mother, no genealogy, but he lives continuously, like forever. He has no beginning of days, my friend. So Jesus' claim is he existed before Abraham. This individual exists even before Abraham and before anyone else, because he has no beginning. There's even a higher claim. So I want to ask you, Jesse, does that make Melchizedek in any way, shape or form divine?
Melchizedek is very, very unusual to me. I don't understand how...
Whoever that is, does that make Melchizedek divine?
Well, no.
Excellent, thank you.
Are you saying that a man can have no beginning? No,
what I'm saying is, I am just giving you a response to these supporting verses people bring in Christianity in support of deity of Christ. So my response was, we find individuals who has a more of a higher claim than Jesus, and yet, according to your admission, it doesn't make them divine. So.
Can he speak?
He will speak. I want to make my claim, my statement clear. Pre-existence of anyone, according to the biblical text, doesn't make someone divine, according to your own admission. So even if Jesus was pre-existing, even it doesn't say that, it only says he was before Abraham. It doesn't say he was before Adam or anyone like that.
I will clarify, I don't believe that. I don't believe that a man can have no beginning.
So who is Melchizedek, who was contemporary?
Melchizedek is mysterious in the sense that that might not necessarily mean that Melchizedek is a man with no beginning. Because I don't believe such a man can exist. Only God can exist.
Is he God? Is he God?
I don't believe he is.
So
it could be a poetic device.
Now we cannot go to... In poetry,
the alternative is that Melchizedek
no. Look. Whenever we're dealing with claims, extraordinary claims, we can't simply say it's poetic. We have to take literally as it says.
Not always. Not always.
Then that means every single statement Christ said, I say it's poetry. He doesn't mean I'm God.
Well, if you throw it out like
No.
But
not throwing out, Jesse.
Poetry is actually written that way.
In arguments like this, I'm going to use every single statement that you bring. It's all about poetry.
I understand that that's a cop-out.
It's not a cop-out, it's being consistent. So if you want to be consistent, I will be consistent. So you have no evidence to substantiate the deity of Christ because it's all about poetry. So when we go to the verses which is not poetical, that will determine to understand that. So now we realize,
Yes, well,
at one point, by the way, here, it wasn't accused of blasphemy. Did the Jewish people, a faction of them, accuse Christ of blasphemy?
yes, they did.
And what was his response?
What was his response? Would you mind?
I can give you. It's Mark 14:60.
Mark
Mark
14.
14:60.
What was his response of accusation of blasphemy?
Do you want me to? I know all about that.
Would you be able to
Yeah, I can find it. Okay, yeah, just find it. Do you not have it? Okay, just go to Mark 14, verse like 58 to 62.
I don't have the Bible.
Yeah, she's gonna get it. So he was on trial.
So you're a mere man, you claim to be God? This is what they said, right?
Yes.
It's not like when he said, oh, what for what actions? What have I done? What have I, that you claim that I'm committing blasphemy? So they said, you, even as a mere man, you claim to be God. Oh, that's a good accusation to hear, right? So what was his response?
I know where you're going with this.
Do you know what the response is?
Well, this is in John that you're talking about.
Yeah, what was his response?
His response was that God called you gods, small g. How can it be so insane?
There's no such thing as small g and capital G, my friend. This is a manufacturing retrospective trying to water down what Christ is saying. It's Elohim. God said
Elohim, yes.
Elohim. It's not about small g.
Well, but Elohim is created. God created Elohim.
Are you the Messiah?
God is called Elohim. Bereshit bara Elohim.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes it. That does. It gets
Et
confusing.
shamaim wa et eret.
There are created beings also called Elohim.
No,
which
no.
makes
So
it-
God is called Elohim, right?
He is.
So it's not as a small g. It's not a small g. So here Jesus is saying, is it not written in your law that you are called Elohim, sons of the Most High? Who's the Most High? And these Elohim are the sons of the Most High. Okay. So are they divine? Being the sons?
No.
Right. Because in the Old Testament, in Psalms 82, verse 1 to 6, God tells these judges, you will die like men. Because they're not gods. But he presides in the assembly of El, in the assembly of gods. Do you believe God has an assembly of gods?
Not gods like he is, but there is an assembly of
And how many gods are there?
There's only one God.
So when God has an assembly with gods, who are the other gods? False gods.
Gods are created beings.
So now you find God is presiding over other false gods, because they're not really gods. Because you cannot have
Well, yes.
false gods to be God.
We should not. If we worship them, we're worshiping false gods. That's
But God calls them gods. Okay?
calls them
So
gods,
Jesus,
not to be worshipped.
so why did Jesus bring this verse to refute them? Because even if he said and claimed himself to be Elohim, God, it would not be a blasphemy. Because God calls people gods. Do you see that? God calls people gods. So if you're one of the judges and I said, I am God.
You have to be more assertive. It just disappears.
Yep. But he said, I only said I'm Ben Elyon, son of Elyon, right? They were sons of the Most High and sons of the Elyon. It doesn't make him God. So that means the accusation of blasphemy is debunked so utterly that they had nothing else to say. Because Jesus Christ was given the knowledge of the book of the Jewish people. God taught him the book and the wisdom and the gospel. So Christ was able to totally dismantle these accusations they brought about blasphemy. Now, the same people accused Jesus Christ of being demon-possessed and call you a madman. Do you accept the accusation to be true?
No.
Ah, very interesting. That means any accusation people make, you can't take this accusation as to be the claim of the individual who's been accused
It
of.
does help clarify what they thought Jesus was saying.
But
which
they,
helps us to understand
but
what
they,
he was saying.
but they're only accusing. They accuse Christ to be madman, demon-possessed.
That's right.
But you'd say the
But we're
accusation is
talking about what they meant
false.
before what Jesus
But
said.
you'd say the accusation is false, right?
I say that that accusation that he's demon-possessed is false. Yes.
And what about that accusation about
That he was
blaspheming?
claiming to be Jesus, that he's claiming to be God.
Yep.
Well, I think that because it happens right in the passage where he says that he was before Abraham, I would like to get
It's
back
not
to
the same
this.
passage.
I would like to get back to
It's
this.
not the same passage, a
Sorry,
different passage.
I'm talking about when they threw him off, when they went tried to
Yeah, but here Jesus responded and he refuted them. So now we have a refutation of Christ saying, I didn't claim to be God.
It's not the same passage, but it is the same book. The same
No. The event, it's not about same book. We're talking about historical events. Things happened, people came and accused him. He refuted them in that event by saying, look, number one, I didn't claim to be God, but I only said. So why is it not registering with the Christian mind? He didn't say I'm God in any way, shape or form. He's simply saying, but I only said I am Ben Elyon.
Read it
Yes,
loud.
I would like to read this.
Go ahead, read.
We gotta hear it on the phone.
We need to hear it? Okay, sorry.
Go ahead.
And the high priest stood up in the midst and asked Jesus, have you no answer to make? What is it these men testify against you? He remained silent and made no answer. Again, the high priest asked him, are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed?
We have 2 more minutes and then we
I
go.
am, and you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power, coming with the clouds of heaven. The high priest tore his garments and said, what further witnesses do we need? You have heard his blasphemy. What is your decision?
If he was just a man, this wouldn't be blasphemy. If he's claiming to be God, it's blasphemy.
What
I
did he
understand, and he's saying in retaliation that an accusation made by them is no proof that Jesus is in fact calling himself.
Thank you, Jesse. You understood well.
I do
He's
believe
getting punished for it.
that it is
No,
right.
he's doing it on pain of death.
I know.
Okay, on
I
pain
believe
of
that
death,
he is.
it's not like any kind of like confusion about what he's saying.
I believe that to be true
No,
too.
it's in the text because he
I-
cleared it. He
I'm
said,
agreeing.
"You'll see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven."
Yes.
That's a reference to the Old Testament.
That's right.
In Daniel,
Yes,
where the Son of Man is a deity.
Absolutely.
And he's saying, "I am
And
a
that's a
deity."
huge thing for us to talk about.
Jesse, in response to this,
How would you respond? Not to the accusations. but
what
to
is
the words,
it? What is he
to the
saying?
words of Jesus.
What is he saying?
I am, and you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power, coming with the clouds of heaven.
Sure. Is he saying I'm God?
Yes.
I believe that.
Yes.
So if we go to, let's,
Are you a son of
we'll go-
man? Oh, no,
That's the
no.
question.
Before you
I'm
go
God. He
somewhere
asked
else, in
I
here,
am not the Son of Man.
no, there is no such thing as the son of man
There
or a
is,
son of.
there is,
I'll
because-
tell you why. Is God a man or a son of man?
Well, Jesus.
No, I'm
became the
asking
Son
you
of
just a simple question. Is God a man or a son of man?
Man. God the Father is not a man or the Son of Man.
No,
Jesus.
God. God is God. Is he a banana? Is he a turtle?
God.
No, God is God.
God is
So
God.
God is
Right.
God.
Jesus
No,
is God
this
as
is,
well.
let's understand something. God has a class or a category called God.
Yes.
In that category, human beings don't fit. Trees don't fit. Elephants don't fit. Bananas don't fit because it's a different category altogether. God is always going to be God in this category. He doesn't diminish himself from being God. Jesse? God doesn't diminish himself from being God. He'll always be God like he always was God. He always is God. That nature of God will never change. The moment you say God is a man, you are now incorporating a different nature. Now I want to ask you, Jesse, did God lose some of his divine nature? Did he lose some of his divine nature?
No.
And so it's not. So did he add something, an external nature to his divine nature?
He incarnated into it.
Did he add to his divine nature?
No, I don't believe
If I have a cup which is full, you can take something away from it to put something in there, right? But if it's already full, you can't add anything to it. If God is already fully God, and you add a banana, you can't add to nature God because it's already complete. You can't add a nature of a human being and say God took another nature. It makes simply no sense. Let me explain to you why. If you are 100% something, like knowledgeable, right? Knowledge. Can you add any more knowledge to it? No. So when you add,
Ask him, just give him a second. Give him a second. Listen.
So overall nature change. Overall nature change.
Priest is asking him, the Pharisee.
brother, don't give me too many suggestions, right? Let me handle as I can, okay? That's fine. We don't want to overwhelm him too much. Is that okay? No, I'm saying don't overwhelm him too much. Let him take things slowly. Okay.
Okay, because angels appear also.
Okay. So let me wrap up.
Ask him, are you an angel? He said, are you the Son? How did he know that? Ask him.
If I ask him that, will he understand?
Right.
That changes mind.
It's not about
Okay, Jesse, enough of distractions from hecklers. So now, when you have something complete, the nature of God is such that he's a complete God in every way, shape or form in his divinity. He does not lack anything. He doesn't lack knowledge. He doesn't lack power. He doesn't lack glory. He doesn't lack any of his divine attributes, right? So, If you add something to it, what you're doing is you are adding something which is.
You gotta speak up.
Jesse.
I'm not here. I didn't want to have a giant argument.
Thank you,
I really
Jesse.
just wanted to be able to.
Jesse,
I didn't realize.
smart man.
this was gonna be-
It's okay. It's okay. He's handling this very well.
I
The Hecklers.
understand.
So do you?
I'm not one of you. I'm not an apologist.
So do you follow so far? If you are 100% divine, you can't add anything to the divinity. All you are going to add are going to add imperfections, deficiencies, weaknesses. Because God is the only perfect being. The only being which is absolutely perfect. Other than God, everything else is His creation. Are you listening? Everything else other than God is His creation. And creation is always limited, dependent, finite, meaning they are deficient, imperfect. So if you add anything to God which is perfect, you are adding imperfection. So the incarnation is actually polluting God, corrupting God of His perfection. That's why the idea of incarnation to a sound intellect doesn't make any sense.
As I said earlier, it is.
Sound intellect, not mystery. It's obviously clear. This is a fence, right? Somebody says this is God. You and I are not going to say.
You're screaming at him.
You and
That's
I
what's perfectly
are
clear.
not going to say it's a mystery. You don't know how this fence is God. You will say, look, this fence cannot be God. Because God,
How did
my
God
last
get in the
point,
burning bush?
my last point, God needs to be, for His divinity, possessor of some necessary attributes. One of the necessary attributes for a necessary being is called self-sufficiency or independence, being independent and self-sufficient. Now, do you consider, because it's my last go, right?
Oh, you're gonna run.
Do you consider,
Okay, you're not gonna listen to
do
his
you consider, Jesse, Jesus Christ possesses self-sufficiency or aseity being ase, self-sufficiency and being independent? Because if you say yes, if you affirm, we can then examine. If you say no, then He cannot be God. So from the outset, does He possess self-sufficiency? And what I mean by this is, let me explain before you say so. Okay, you might be too preemptive. Someone who's self-sufficient doesn't need anyone else for their own existence. For example, for their own life. For example, if I were self-sufficient, what it means is I don't need God to even to exist. Do you understand? If I were self-sufficient, I don't need even God to exist because I am independent of God for my own existence. That's what it means, self-sufficient. I don't need anyone else besides me. Self-sufficient, sufficient myself. So, if Jesus was self-sufficient, He does not need the Father to exist. He doesn't need the Holy Spirit to exist. So let me ask you, is Jesus...
The need is not what
No.
makes them exist. They exist regardless
Is Jesus
of the need of them.
self-sufficient in such a way that He can exist without the Father existing?
He's screaming at you.
This is the kind of question that I think is, if I were to say yes, that would be actually an irreverent blasphemy of the fact that God does exist, the Father and the Holy Spirit and Jesus. No, they do not need the others to
I didn't say
exist.
need. I said.
They are one.
No, I said.
So they can't
I
exist without each other.
said.
And so
Clarify.
I'm just saying-
No. Clarify. Can Jesus exist without the Father existing?
No, they're all one.
Jesus doesn't exist without the Father existing.
So He's
It's not
dependent on the
important
Father.
Because if we,
So He's dependent on the Father.
Can
He's not self-sufficient.
can the Father transform into a unicorn?
No. Let me address that point. When you say, can the Father transform, meaning, can the Almighty be less than Almighty? It makes no sense. It's a contradiction. But we're talking about Jesus is identified to be God, divine, possessor of not partial divinity,
Yes.
full divinity. Full divinity means you have to be fully divine with the attributes of self-sufficiency. So, if He's self-sufficient, He doesn't need the Father even to exist. But you know very well, He was eternally, atemporally dependent on the Father to beget Him. Otherwise, He would not be here. Just think about this. Think about it. We have to go now because it's been a while. If you want to say something in return, go and speak. But I'm going to end this discussion. I think we've given you enough. I've given you enough. Look, if you want to make a point, go ahead. But as I said already,
Just run away. You run away from
I don't speak to Hecklers. Go ahead.
No, get out of here.
Yes, sir.
What are
Go
you
ahead.
telling him now? What's left?
Do you have to say anything in return? Because I talked about Only God is self-sufficient, Jesus is not.
I think what I've gathered is that from what we've been saying, I could read this passage from Mark, or I could read a few other things from here that we were looking at before.
Yeah.
And it's not going to change your mind, probably not many other people's minds.
Because it doesn't make sense.
Well, I don't believe that's the case.
We've established that so far in almost an hour of discussion.
Because you've been talking the whole time.
But I have given you time to reflect on what I've said.
No, not really.
I've given you time to reflect.
Because you have actually, and
Okay.
in fact, you are doing it now even. And what I think
Why are you now becoming something different now?
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be aggressive to you.
No, why are you now being passively aggressive?
I'm not trying to be passively aggressive. Well,
Have I said
actually,
anything that didn't make
I'm
sense?
not being aggressive, but I suppose
Passively.
in a way,
Passively.
I suppose, you know what, not passive, now I'll be confrontational, I suppose.
You're gonna okay, you only got 2 minutes because I'm going, as I said earlier. You can be confrontational.
I believe that what you have done here, because I did want to have an open conversation.
We did.
But what you have done is you have in fact spoken over all of these points, and you've talked over and over and over and over, very, very.
I've made my
fast,
points.
very
You've made your
fast.
points.
And you have made lots and lots of points.
Yeah.
Many of which I wish I could have said something to, but you moved so fast that I couldn't have stopped.
Oh, is that the case? Why didn't you stop me? Why did you stop me?
Because I
You
wanted to be
understood.
polite, and I knew that.
And now you realize because there was no response.
if we could have been civil, then
Oh, we weren't civil. Here are people civil all the time.
No. I think that civility did pause and allow for someone to respond to points, but rather fast.
Did you ever tell me it was too fast?
I should have.
You should have.
been
So
more
whose
like
problem
that.
is that? Mine or yours?
That particularly, I'll own that. I should have said.
Right. So don't make an accusation now. It's your problem. Next time, this is a good advice. This is an advice for you. Next time, next time, when people are fast, tell them it's too fast for me.
I
Right?
agree with you. I'm sorry.
Good.
And I'm sorry
So
that I
now,
didn't speak up earlier.
Jesse, I'm going to leave you with this. If you die in this state of associating partners with God, we said already,
Yes.
the abode will be eternal hellfire. There will be no coming out.
Yes.
So you know the message of Islam is very clear.
I do
Okay,
know that.
that's
and you
fine.
know the same for Christianity.
I do not reject Christ. He is the mighty
That,
messenger.
that if you are wrong, you too face the same.
I accept Christ.
we both
He's one of the
face-
mighty messengers of God.
was a
I
Trinitarian.
accept Christ that he worshipped God.
It doesn't
But
sound
you
like you
don't.
accept.
Muhammad was a Trinitarian.
Look. If we were to go further,
Worship the moon god.
you would have known even the Bible that you get the message from, you can't even rely on it. This is one of the weakest reports that you can even think about it. Do you know, for you to think about, because I have to really go, right?
Yes, I know you do.
Do you know the integrity, character integrity of the writers of the Gospels? Were they honest? Were they possessors of good memory? And did they lie? You have no clue. You have anonymous writers writing about it, and you take your whole life based on these anonymous writers who could be blatant liars. The reason why I'm saying this, your New Testament has 4 Gospels, but were they the only ones written? Were they? They weren't.
I think if we're about to finish,
Okay.
what I wanted to
Take care, my
say, you believe in God and I do too, but I believe in Jesus. We're not going to be able to talk each other.
We have talked. I have given my
And I
reasons
believe
why I
that
reject
Jesus is
Christian
God, and
understanding.
you say he's not. So if I can,
didn't listen.
if we walk away now, I believe that Jesus has the sufficiency to make you believe that he is.
Is he self-sufficient?
But you also believe that.
He's not self-sufficient.
You also believe that
It's
God
not
has the
reliable.
sufficiency to do that. So if you go and pray,
I am
would
praying
you-
every
would
day.
you pray for me? No, I mean for me.
The moon god.
Yeah, I pray for
You
you.
go and pray for me.
I pray for you.
I will go and pray for
moon
you.
god.
Yeah.
And whoever
With one condition though.
and God will be the judge, and His judgment will either, I hope, mercifully convert you or mercifully convert me.
One condition. You need to be sincere to be guided.
I agree, and I say
Okay,
the
let's
same
leave
to
it
you.
there.
I say the same to you.
Yeah, exactly. 17 times a day at least minimum we pray
And I
to
do
God.
finish by apologising that I didn't.
That's
say
fine.
earlier.
No problem. That's okay. You're a good man.
I really
You're,
appreciate.
you're a good man, and you did stand on your ground compared to the hecklers trying to take over you, thinking that you
I,
haven't got
don't,
brain.
I didn't want to debate.
Just
I didn't want to
railroad
say-
him.
Take
Just
care.
keep talking over him. Yeah, you're gonna run away now.
Make a point.
Don't run away,
Mansur, I want to make a point.
He's got some questions, Mansur. He's got
You
questions.
got some questions.
Who's this?
Mansur, you got some
That's the
questions.
next Muslim. He has some questions, Mansur.
Mansur, answer some questions.
Keep begging Mansur. You need Mansur for your salvation. It's like you need Mansur for your salvation. What a sad state of Christianity. You need Mansur for your salvation. What a sad state.
I've got a question.
No, he's a brilliant man.
You said in John 17 verse 3 where Christ talked about the only one.
Don't worry about the names. I'm not even